See if this looks just as bad or if it looks a little better. Oh no, that's bad. There's welcome back to the channel, and hopefully we actually get to go drive this thing with the new clutch and the beefed up trans that we put together in the last video. But first, I gotta pull the engine out because, like I showed you last time, the oil filter was full of bearing material. And we'll have to go CSI and figure out what happened. My guess is that shoving 20 pounds of boost in a 200,000 mile motor and then hanging on off the rev limiter, running around a dirt track for 2 days in a row might have hurt it. You know, also doing a long burnout under boost and running until it shut itself down. That might have also had something to do with it. But I'm going to pull this thing out. But next thing you guys will see will be tearing this motor down and trying to figure out what the heck I did to it. Engine's all pulled out, got it on the stand, and I mean, it looks okay. That's a little chunkier than I was hoping. I was hoping for smaller chunks. But I mean, the cylinders look pretty good down in there. Yeah, it looks good. Still some nice crosshatch. I don't see anything else. The cam, if we look down at the cam looks pretty nice. So my guess is that it's just rod and mains. Probably rods, because they're smaller and they take more of a beating. But let's pop some of these rod caps off and see what we got. Let's see what we got for a rod bearing in here. Yep, that rod bearing is shot. Wow. Yeah. Those bearings are shot. It actually crushed them. The edges of them are rough. Wow. Man, those are really bad. Oh my God. Look at that. So maybe, yeah. Maybe you shouldn't put 20 pounds of boost through a 200,000 mile Magnum, because those bearings are just trashed. The crank feels okay. The rod looks okay, but these are some of the worst bearings I've ever seen. And this thing had good oil pressure. Had no knocks, no noises, but man, that's really bad. That's really, really bad. Let's pull a main and see what the mains look like. See if this looks just as bad or if it looks a little better. Oh no, that's bad. Look at that. There's a piece of the bearing. Wow. That got smashed out the side. The cap looks okay. Yeah. Look at that. Look how fat it got. It actually just crushed the bearing. Look at it. Wow. Wow. That's insane. I've never seen bearings look like this, so holy crap. This middle one. Just look at that. Man. I've never seen anything like that. That's wicked. That took some abuse. That took some torque. I know this thing makes really big power. I mean, with it being able to spin over the tires rolling in third with dualies on it. But that shows you exactly how much torque this thing is making. Get a good look at this bearing. Look at how it crushed it out. It just smashed this bearing. Isn't that crazy? I've never in my life seen a bearing like that. This bad thing makes some freaking torque. Holy crap. To do that to a main bearing? And then there, if it'll focus, there's a rod bearing. Wow. Same thing. If you look at the edge, it just crushed these things. I've never seen bearings do that. Well, there's one of the old bearings. Here's one of the new bearings. These are Speed Pro tri-metal. Basically the quickest and cheapest tri-metal bearings that I could get to try to get this thing back together. So these should be, hopefully, a little more durable. They're at least not totally destroyed like these are. So I'm just working on slapping all new main bearings in it right now. Fresh rod bearings, fresh main bearings. They're all tri-metal, Speed Pro stuff. Nothing super top end, but should hold up and be a little more durable. I will admit, this is number 7 rod bearing. And yeah, that's not good. I don't know if it's spun this around, but it's bad. And the crank on number 7 is not perfect. All the other ones were not bad. I mean, the bearings were, you know, the bearings were worn. The bearings were bad shape, but this is the only one where it actually beat the crank up a little bit. So, yeah, I don't know. That one may not last long term, but it's in much better shape than it was. And yeah, I would not recommend stock 200,000 mile bearings with this much boost and this much torque. Because, yeah, I mean, that is bad. That is some nasty, nasty stuff. So, I'll put this thing back together, and then we'll get it back in here, and then we can finally go test that badass clutch.
Many months later.
Alright guys, I'm gonna be honest, I don't even know when that last clip ended, because the last time I remember filming anything on this truck was like a month ago, 2 months ago. I think I just put the new bearings in it. Yeah, I'll find out when I actually go to edit this, because I haven't even looked at the footage. But since then, what happened is I screwed this thing up really bad. And I didn't film it because life has just been crazy. Life got in the way. So when I went to fire this thing up after the new bearings, it wouldn't run. Couldn't figure out what it was. It turns out in my rush to get it back together, this thing's running a comp cam timing set, which lets you advance or retard the cam as you want. And I mismatched the timing dot with the keyway, and turns out bent all the intake valves. So tore it down, put all new intake valves in, and new push rods, and then it ran on 5 cylinders. Couldn't figure out what that was, and it turns out, after a lot of troubleshooting, because again, I was rushing, I'm in a hurry, trying to get this thing done, it's all my fault. The number 8 push rod on the exhaust popped off, was actually creating a weird reversion through the intake that kept 5 and 7 from not firing. So, I got that all done, and then it wouldn't move. Couldn't get it in or out of gear. So let me go through that real quick. All right, and you can see this thing got pushed outside because I needed the space inside. But I did in all of my troubleshooting to figure out why it wasn't firing. I finally got tired of melting all my plug wires, so I relocated all my coil packs up to the firewall. Longer plug wires, but honestly, they're much more tucked away. You know, they don't come out like they used to. So this should help. Both sides are like that. This side especially, they're way tighter to the valve cover than they've ever been. They're just longer plug wires now, which doesn't matter. But like I said, I got this thing together and I couldn't get it in and out of gear. The clutch wouldn't disengage. So I knew it was a hydraulic issue. So what I did was at one point I put a longer push rod in. You can see it laying there. Didn't do anything no matter what I did. So I ended up swapping out the master cylinder, which I had kind of thought I was going to need to do this. So this is actually a Tick Performance master cylinder for a 98-02 Camaro and Firebird, because I'm running the pedals out of a 98-02 Camaro and Firebird. So it's a 7/8 bore Tilton master. It's got their braided AN line. I had to kind of move some stuff and reroute it, but that all fits in there. And then also, don't know if you can see it, but kind of. That is a brand new master cylinder down, or slave cylinder. Yeah, kind of hard to tell. So I replaced that too. So between those two, that's a bigger master than stock, and that is actually a smaller slave cylinder. I've found, I think it's a 19 millimeter. I don't even remember. I went through Rock Auto and got the smallest bore I could because that should give me the most travel. And with that now, the clutch disengages. It's stiff as hell, but it does disengage. So, and it actually over travels if I push the pedal too hard. So what I'm gonna have to do is come in here, and this thing has an adjustable push rod on it. So I'm gonna need to just shorten that pedal up because the pedal is really tall now, if you look at it. Just to get it on the road for now. But yeah, that's the update on this thing. You know, it's hopefully I'll get a little bit of time with it, but man, life's been crazy. And this thing has just flat out kicked my ass for the past month or so. But I'm gonna adjust that clutch up right now. And then at some point, I guess we'll go drive it. But yeah, it's still here. I'm still slowly working on it. She actually drove herself in the garage. Clutch works pretty well, adjusted up. It's pretty short, pretty tight, but it is working. The alternator died, so it squeals like a stuck pig right now, and clearly I still got to put the front clip back on. But this is the first time it moved under its own power with the new clutch, which is pretty freaking awesome. So I still got to work on it. Like I said, you know, life gets in the way sometimes, and that's really all that happened to it. You know, I'm not giving up on it. I mean, I screwed it up. It kicked my butt, but you know, it happens. And I'm hoping that the next video doesn't take a month or a month and a half. You know, I just want to button it up, fix that alternator, and I want to go drive it because that clutch actually feels really nice. The engagement feels so smooth. It's way better than I thought it was going to be. I thought it'd be a little grabby, but it actually seems really nice. So hopefully the next video doesn't take this long. And yeah, it kind of sucks that this one did, but I rushed. I screwed things up. Life got in the way. I didn't film it. Here we are. So yeah, it's back. It's running. It's got a nasty clutch in it. It's got good fresh bearings in it. So hopefully that motor will last a while. It sounds really good. It seems like it's running really good. So yeah, hopefully this doesn't happen again and I can be a little more consistent with beating on this thing, but I want to go have fun with it. Thanks for watching, and just subscribe so you see it next time, because this one sucked that it took so long.